For millions of people across the globe, Andrea Bocelli is more than just a singer. He is a symbol of beauty, faith, and unwavering hope. His voice has the rare ability to move hearts, inspire souls, and create moments that feel almost timeless. Yet behind that extraordinary gift lies a story filled with pain, struggle, and quiet resilience that very few truly understand. At 67 years old, the world-renowned tenor carries with him a past shaped by immense challenges, obstacles so severe that they could have easily destroyed his dreams before they had even begun. Instead of a life immediately filled with applause, admiration, and success, there were long periods marked by fear, uncertainty, and profound loss. When the full story of his journey comes to light, it reveals something far deeper than fame, a life that is both powerfully inspiring and deeply tragic. He was born as Andrea Bocelli on September 22, 1958, in the small and peaceful village of Lajatico, nestled within the gently rolling countryside of Tuscany, Italy. What should have been a time of joy and celebration for his family quickly turned into a period filled with anxiety and concern. Not long after his birth, doctors diagnosed him with congenital glaucoma, a serious condition that causes dangerously high pressure inside the eyes. If left untreated, this condition can damage the optic nerve, leading to severe vision impairment or even complete blindness. For his parents, the news was devastating. Medical professionals warned them that their son might never experience normal vision and could face major limitations throughout his life. From that moment forward, a shadow fell over his early years. His childhood became defined not by carefree play, but by hospital visits, ongoing treatments, and constant monitoring from specialists trying to preserve what little sight he had. Throughout his early childhood, Bocelli endured countless medical procedures and frequent hospital stays in an effort to control the disease. Treatments for congenital glaucoma during that era were not only complicated, but often painful, especially for someone so young. Despite all the effort, his vision remained extremely fragile. Bright light caused him discomfort, and his ability to see was severely limited, forcing him to rely more and more on his other senses. Yet, within this uncertainty and fear, something remarkable began to take shape. His parents noticed that he had an unusual sensitivity to sound. Music quickly became more than just a pastime. It became a refuge. Even as a small child, he would listen closely to melodies and attempt to recreate them, showing an early connection to music that seemed almost instinctive. His parents soon realized that music brought him confidence and happiness at a time when his medical condition could easily have overwhelmed him. By the time he reached the age of 12, Bocelli had already spent much of his young life battling serious vision problems caused by congenital glaucoma. Although his eyesight had always been limited, he could still perceive light and faint shapes. His family and doctors held onto hope that, with careful treatment, he might retain some degree of vision. But in 1970, everything changed in an instant. While attending school near his hometown in Tuscany, he was playing soccer with classmates, something he loved despite his visual difficulties. During the game, a ball was kicked with force and struck him directly in the face. For most children, such an accident would have resulted in temporary pain. But for Bocelli, whose eyes were already weakened by years of medical complications, the consequences were devastating. The impact caused a serious brain hemorrhage and inflicted severe trauma to his eyes. Within a short time, he lost the little vision he had left. Doctors were unable to reverse the damage, and suddenly, his world was plunged into complete darkness. The emotional impact of that moment was overwhelming. For years, he had learned to navigate life with partial sight, adapting to his limitations while holding onto some visual connection to the world. Losing that entirely forced him to confront a completely new reality. Everyday tasks became far more difficult, and he had to relearn how to move through life without relying on vision at all. His teenage years became a period filled with adjustment, frustration, and emotional struggle. Simple activities that most children took for granted, walking through unfamiliar places, reading, or keeping up with school, now required new methods and intense concentration. To continue his education, Bocelli attended specialized schools for students with visual impairments. One of the most significant institutions in his early development was a school in Florence, where he learned to read Braille and gained the independence needed to pursue his studies. Although the support was invaluable, the transition was not easy. Being away from familiar surroundings and surrounded by others facing similar challenges constantly reminded him of the limitations he now lived with. During these years, he experienced deep feelings of isolation and uncertainty. Like many teenagers, he was trying to understand who he was and what his future might hold. But blindness added an extra layer of doubt. He questioned whether the world would accept someone with such a disability, especially in a demanding and competitive field like music. At times, the dream of becoming a professional musician felt distant, even unrealistic. Yet despite these fears, music remained his sanctuary. It was the one place where he felt free, capable, and truly himself. He dedicated countless hours to practice, learning to play multiple instruments including the piano, flute, saxophone, trumpet, and guitar. Each instrument deepened his understanding of melody and harmony while sharpening his listening abilities. Most importantly, during this time, his singing voice began to emerge as something truly extraordinary. Without the distraction of sight, his sensitivity to sound became incredibly refined. He could detect subtle differences in tone, pitch, and emotional expression that many others could not. Gradually, those around him began to recognize the rare warmth and power of his voice. As the 1980s approached, Bocelli's future still appeared uncertain. There was no clear path to the global success he would eventually achieve. At that time, he was simply a young man trying to build a stable life while holding onto a dream that often felt fragile. Determined to pursue a practical career, he enrolled at the University of Pisa to study law. This decision was rooted in realism. While music was his passion, he understood how unpredictable the entertainment industry could be, particularly for someone facing the additional challenges of blindness. A career in law offered the possibility of financial stability and independence. However, university life brought its own set of challenges. Coming from a modest background, he struggled to support himself financially. To make ends meet, he began working nights in small piano bars and clubs, performing for customers late into the evening. These venues were often lively but demanding environments. He would play the piano and sing for hours, only to wake up early the next morning to attend lectures and continue his legal studies. The routine was exhausting, and the financial rewards were modest. Yet, despite the fatigue and pressure, these experiences became essential to his development as an artist. Performing in front of live audiences helped him gain confidence and refine his musical abilities. Still, the reality of his situation was far from glamorous. The stages were small, and the dream of performing in grand opera houses seemed incredibly distant. By the early 2000s, everything had changed. Andrea Bocelli had become one of the most recognizable classical crossover artists in the world. His rise to international fame during the 1990s was fueled by powerful performances and unforgettable songs, particularly the global hit Con Te Partiro. While his professional life was reaching incredible heights, his personal life was facing a difficult chapter. In 2002, he and his first wife, Enrica Senzati, decided to end their marriage after nearly a decade together. They had married in 1992, long before his global success, during a time when his future in music was still uncertain. Enrica had supported him through those challenging early years. Together, they built a family and welcomed two sons, Amos Bocelli and Matteo Bocelli. For many years, they kept their family life private despite his growing fame. However, as his career expanded internationally, the demands of travel, recording, and constant performances placed increasing strain on their relationship. When they separated, they handled the situation with dignity, avoiding public conflict. Nevertheless, the emotional impact was significant, marking the end of an important chapter in his life. In 2015, Bocelli faced another deeply emotional loss when his father, Alessandro Bocelli, passed away. This loss left a lasting mark on him. His father had been more than just a parent. He had been one of his earliest and strongest supporters. From the moment Andrea was diagnosed with congenital glaucoma, Alessandro refused to see his son's condition as a limitation. Instead, he encouraged him to live fully and pursue his dreams. After the accident that left him completely blind, this support became even more important. During times of doubt and struggle, his father remained a constant source of encouragement. As Bocelli pursued his musical career, his father quietly celebrated his progress, even during the difficult years when success seemed uncertain. Watching his son rise to international fame became one of his greatest joys. Losing him in 2015 meant saying goodbye to someone who had been there through both the darkest and brightest moments of his life. In 2020, during the global crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic, Bocelli faced a frightening health scare. During the early stages of the outbreak, he and several members of his family contracted the virus. At the time, Italy was one of the hardest-hit countries, with hospitals overwhelmed and strict lockdown measures in place. Given his history of medical challenges, the diagnosis was understandably alarming. Fortunately, his symptoms were relatively mild, and he was able to recover at home with his family, avoiding the severe complications that affected so many others. Still, the experience left a deep emotional impact, giving him a renewed appreciation for life and a profound sense of empathy for those who suffered greater losses. After recovering, he chose to turn that difficult experience into something meaningful. He participated in medical research efforts aimed at understanding the virus and donated his blood plasma to support scientific studies. These efforts focused on analyzing antibodies in recovered patients, helping researchers better understand how the immune system responds to the disease. By contributing in this way, he joined countless others who stepped forward to help during one of the most challenging global health crises in modern history. What do you think about the hardships that Andrea Bocelli endured throughout his life? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. We hope you found this story meaningful and insightful. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video.